Have you ever wanted a more in-depth understanding of how to play woods and where the task locations are and where all the high-value loot spawns are? Well, today in the Woods Guide of 0.14.5, we will be discussing everything you need to know about woods. Without further ado, let's get straight. First and foremost, one thing to know about Woods is the third map that was ever added to Escape from Tarkov, meaning it has been around for quite some time. Raids last roughly 40 minutes. The player count's usually between 10 and 14, and the bosses consist of Sherman, the goons, and cultists. Alright, we have made it to Jaeger's Plain. So, Jaeger's Crashed Plain usually has loads of valuable loose loot scattered all throughout, along with food items scattered all throughout. So if you're passing through and you're heading for your Jaeger's Note or you're heading to Extract, it is a notable location to check. You also have some valuable spawns all right here on these stairs. Jaeger's Note, not too far away. Jaeger's Note will be right here, tucked away underneath that little plank of wood. Continuing to Sawmill. Now that we have made it to Sawmill, as you can see, it's a pretty open area, usually guarded by scavs. Sherman does have a chance to spawn here, along with his key, a red rebel, card spawn on him. You can get so much off of Sherman, but he is a difficult boss to kill because he will snipe you from range. He also has some really cracked guards that will also kill you if they see you. Going into violent keycard spawn here, this is the area where you can find a violent keycard inside of this little shack. You can see what it looks like from the outside. It has filing cabinets throughout it, a duffel bag, jackets that spawn right here, and of course loose food spawns that spawn throughout also. We have the trailers. Usually have a grenade case, jacket, spawning inside of them. You have bottom red and top red. The reason they're called bottom and top is because obviously the height difference, and one's downhill, one's uphill from each other. That is the call out that I've always used, bottom red and top red. You also have gray or white, whatever you want to call it. I call it gray. Other people may call it something different. Here is Sherman's stash. If you have Sherman's stash key, you can go ahead and open it. Sometimes it has a chance of spawning a red rebel also. So that's another thing to just keep in the back of your head whenever you're passing through Sawmill. Maybe it's a dead raid. Maybe you have a chance to loot it. Inside a third cabin here. Usually you have a moonshine spawn here. It has a chance of spawning. You have jackets, and I think you have a duffel. Second cabin, you have a safe, grenade box. You have a box. You have moonshine, and a duffel bag / jacket that may spawn also. Moving on to the first cabin, jacket spawn obviously, duffel, moonshine spawn, and of course your secure folder 0052, which will spawn underneath here also. Gray weapon box. Another gray weapon box. Medical spawns all on these shelves, plus tool spawns. A jacket can be hanging from right here. Again, more medical spawns, as you can see, aluminum splints right there. And of course, you have bottom red, top red. Bottom red has a black cube weapon box spawn that you can check out if you're running fast. Here we are, making it to USEC checkpoint. This is noted as a BTR stop point. You can transfer items into the BTR, or you can get a safe travel with the BTR. You have attachment spawns all right here in this little newspaper area. Of course, filing cabinets. And the most notable, the black SUV with the violet keycard spawn in the seat right there. You also have a chance of a med bag spawning back here, as it already has, giving you the chance to grab a LEDX. Here we have one of the cultist circles, which you will need for a task later on in white. All you have to do is mark these locations or find these locations. As you can see, it's directly in the woods from USEC checkpoint. You can sort of see it down there, and it is right up the hill from top red. Usually some loose valuables spawn there. Here we have attachment cabin with loads of food spawns there. Ammo spawns all throughout this area. As you can see, there's some that are on the ground. There's some that'll be in these boxes. Just another good little location to check. You have an AK spawn right here. And then, of course, attachments, food, all right here. Good little area if you just want to make a quick buck. Do a pistol run, grab a suppressor, and you make Mookie. It's really up to you, though.
A lot of people don't like whenever people play that way, but it is what it is.
Reaching Burnout SUV here. As you can see, Outskirts is right up there. Outskirts is an extract for anybody who spawns on that end of the map or over there towards USEC camp, which we will visit here in a sec. Outskirts is always available and readily available to extract out of. It is also another camped extract. People will sit there. They will camp you out. So maybe clear your angles, as I've said before, and make sure no one's over there before you go to extract. Moving on to ZB014. ZB014 is a extract that is only open if this green flare is lit, but not only does the green flare have to be lit, you also need a key to open the door down here. It is a keyed extract that requires both the key and the green flare to be lit. You also have some good spawns down here, such as a duffel. You have loose valuables slash tradables slash all that good stuff all right there. You also have a stash location for an Iskra and water with a Jaeger task. Back here, after unlocking the door with the ZB014 key, you will obviously have an ice cream cone spawn, which is a task in Tarkov where you have to find 60 round 545 AK mags and turn them in. So this is a location in which they can spawn. Obviously, I have medical spawns right here. As you can see, a double AFAC and IFAC is spawned, and a green crate if you feel getting lucky, maybe finding a red rebel, because red rebels do spawn in green crates. Here we are at USEC camp. USEC camp is required for a task. You have to come in here and cross underneath this netting to locate the USEC camps, or the temporary USEC camps. Obviously, you have attachment spawns there, weapon box there, and you actually have some valuables that spawn back here. GP coins, Bitcoins, gold chains, chainlets, things of that nature. Of course, a little black weapon box. It's also to note that a M4 does spawn up there where you see that beer bottle. It spawns on 2 sleeping bags up there. You go across the backside of the rocks to get up. An M4 will also spawn inside of this truck here. It's a stock M4, nothing crazy. A SOP mod M4 spawns up there. Over here, you have a high value spawn plus a lot of food spawns where you have the chance to grab either a sugar, which is currently worth 100k on the flea market, or, of course, a valuable, which would be located right here in this area. And that valuable can include gold chains, Bitcoins, things like that. Of course, you have 2 crates. This one is also one of the least looted crates that I've seen. A lot of people don't loot it, so if you're late into a scav run and you have the space or you spawn near USEC, it's actually really good to grab that. Moving on to the second camp here. We have loads of crates, loads of loose spawns, and of course, the notorious Ledex spawn. Yes, Ledexes do spawn over here, and there's a good chance for them to spawn either right here in the ground, on this green map, or where this AFAC has spawned, right here on this, whatever the fuck you call this thing. You also have loads of crates, like I said, crates inside of here, crates over there, crates everywhere, loose attachment spawns. This thing's usually empty. I don't even know why it's here. It's most of the time empty. I don't know if people will just take shit out of it, and I just don't find it. I don't know what to tell you. Moving on to Scav Bunker. Before we get to Scav Bunker, down the hill from the USEC camps is the USEC Convoy, where you'll find med spawns, ammo spawns, of course tech crate spawns, and the task where you have to find the missing convoy. This is where you'll find it. So loads of meds spawn here. I have found Slavos over there, Slavos over there, and of course green weapon crates. And there is actually a dead Scavo, if he actually spawned today. Yep, there's a dead Scavo right here. He typically has some decent loot on him. Not all the time, but usually. Moving on to the Scav Bunker area. This is a location where you will find the goons, and you'll know they're there because Bird Eye will snipe you from over in USEC camp from over here. Yes, he is cracked out of his mind, and he will kill you. Same thing with Bird Eye, Knight, and Big Five. They will all kill you if they're located over here. So, you know, if you get a little no desync or whatever, you might want to watch out whenever you're running this direction, especially if you don't hear Sherman. Obviously, you have a duffel bag, green crate, another green crate, fuel conditioner spawn, which I have seen a lot right here. And downstairs, you have a duffel bag spawn there, toolbox that usually spawns there, loose electronic spawns there, tool spawns right there. A biddy has spawned under that bed for me before, so it's a good idea to look. And of course, valuable spawns all scattered throughout this area. Then a jacket that's actually hanging on that wall that no one ever checks. It has a chance of intel. There's usually a duffel on that couch. I know it's really hard to see. I wish I had brought a flashlight, but it's all good. Either way, you have a good understanding of what the actual Scav Bunker looks like. The BTR also stops in this area. The BTR will stop right here, and he will wait for roughly 2 minutes, and then he'll honk 10 seconds before he leaves, which you will very clearly hear, very audibly, from anywhere in this area. You have a jacket that usually spawns there. Of course, another food ration supply crate there. Duffel bag that usually spawns here. Loose items that spawn there. Sugars, moonshines, all spawn in this area, on that bed, right here. And then there's loose valuables that actually spawn in this sandbag. Sometimes you have to do a little wiggle to find them. You also have sugars that can spawn all throughout here. You have a toolbox that usually spawns there. Green weapon crate that spawns there. Green weapon crate that spawns there. Fuel that'll spawn right here inside of this little fuel area. You see any fuel on the map, especially those kind of gas cans, definitely take a gander and see if any of them are actually real items you can pick up. High value spawn underneath this bed. High value spawn on this bed. Grenade box that usually spawns there. Green crate that usually spawns there. And I have actually seen a white 3M body armor spawn on here. I don't know, fairly interesting thing to keep in mind. Now, before we move on, adjacent from this corner of that sniper hut, there's typically a spawned scav that'll spawn over here that has a chance to spawn a slick plate carrier. Moving on to Sunken Village. Sunken Village has so many high value spawns, and it is overlooked so often. On stream, you will see me run scavs into woods, and this is usually one of the first places that I want to go. As you can see, there is a high value spawn there. There's a high value spawn over here. Toolbox usually spawns right here. Sugars can spawn all right here where this loose loot is. And another high value spawn over there. Of course, all the ammos that you'll ever need also spawn inside of this first building here. Moving on to the second back building, you have this boat on the outside of it that has a chance to spawn high value loot. Over here, you have 3 high value spawns, one inside of this bush, one inside of these bushes, and one back here. Don't ask me how the grass grew through. I have no idea. I'm definitely not a herbologist or whatever you want to call it. Of course, in Sunken Village, you have your second cultist circle, which has a chance to spawn high value loot also. It's a good idea to sort of skim the area whenever you're over here. Sometimes you'll find a golden rooster, you'll find a wooden clock, you'll find gold chains. You have possibilities to find so much stuff over there. Moving onward to the house closest to the vehicle extract, you have a gold chain spawn over there. Loose food spawns all throughout here, including a moonshine spawn where that vodka is. Ammo spawn / food spawn, and more ammo spawns there. Inside of this house, you might find a high value spawn inside of this little tub right there. And then, of course, ammo / food all scattered on that cot. It's also good to mention this boathouse over here. Again, another area that is highly overlooked, especially in regards to early white players who needs a measuring tape for their hideout. This place has a really high chance of spawning a measuring tape right here. And, of course, a Bitcoin spawn right here underneath that paddle. A toolbox will spawn right here. And a duffel bag will spawn over here. Moving on to this cabin. This cabin has a tent that is located inside of it, as well as a toolbox and a duffel bag that do have a chance to spawn, and loose loot / loose meds that will also spawn inside of it. This cabin, again, is overlooked. A lot of the times I have seen it overlooked and was able to make it out with, hell, an extra gold chain inside of a scav, which is like 24k. So it's totally worth checking this place out. As you can see, a duffel is spawned. A toolbox typically spawns right here. You'll find an analogen, pain med, something like that on this bench. And then, of course, your loose valuables, which will spawn all right here. Sometimes you have to do a little wiggle in case there is a hidden bitty coin located inside of it. Moving on to this back cabin here. If winter wasn't a thing right now, one of these spawns is actually really hard to find, especially if you don't know what you're looking for. However, with winter still being here and snow still being on the ground, one of the locations that is overlooked whenever this bush is full is actually a location right here, which I have found multiple Bitcoins out of before. So it's another thing to keep in mind. Over here, there's usually a badge spawn, golden egg spawn, gold chain spawn, you name it. It spawns right there. I mean, a lot of people overlook it. And then, of course, you have your back stash, which is typically also hidden whenever that bush is full. Moving on to the church. The church has this boat that's right outside of it that you cross. You will have a high value spawn there. And, of course, you have multiple high value spawns in here, including a Bitcoin spawn there, including golden chain spawn, chainlet spawn, golden rooster spawn, badge spawn. Everything spawns right here. Every high value item you can think of has spawned right there, and I have found it before. Now let's head over to the car extract / scav town. Now, as we approach the vehicle extract, there is actually a ground cache spawn, which spawns right here. This has a chance of spawning a lot of good loot, and it is worth the check before you do extract. The vehicle extract typically costs around 5,000 rupees, which really honestly depends on your fence rep or scav karma, as most people call it. As you can see, for me, it cost 4,974, as I do not have the best scav rep. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life decisions. Moving on into Scav Town here. Scav Town is guarded by a heap of scavs. There's definitely 3 to 4 scavs that are definitely in this area. Most of the time, of course, you do have toolbox spawns right outside beside that green van. Inside of this house here, you will have vodka spawns, moonshine spawns, sugars, all that good stuff. Back here in the back, you have a duffel bag that spawns right here in this chair. You have ammo spawns / loose loot spawns, another duffel bag there, and 3M body armor that spawns back there, as well as a grenade case. Right outside of this doorway here, you also have a toolbox that will spawn there, a grenade case that will spawn there, along with loose ammo, a toolbox spawn that will spawn there, loose item spawns / conditioned milks, moonshines, you name it, that spawn right there, loose ammo, things of that nature that spawn right there. Loads of tool spawns that spawn right here. As you can see, some pliers have spawned. A toolbox. And a PGW has actually spawned on those shelves before for me. So it's actually a pretty good thing to keep your eye out for. Moving over across the street into this fence over here, we are going to start with the shed. The shed typically has a big box here that is, again, since they changed the loot, procedurally generated. So it has a chance of spawning. You have, of course, some loose loot spawns / food spawns, a toolbox that usually spawns right there on that table. Inside of this house, this is probably one of the most checked houses on the map. You have moonshine spawns / sugar spawns scattered here and here. You also have a technical spawn, which has the chance of spawning a GPU inside of this box over here, as well as a high value spawn that is actually underneath that bed. And then you have ammo spawns there, and a duffel bag that spawns there also. Inside of this shack, there's not really much to see. Usually you have a toolbox in here or so. Usually you have a toolbox there, and a lot of loose loot spawns all throughout it. Moving on to the final house of this bit. Inside of this house, you have quite a bit of valuable spawns also. Not only that, but you do have moonshine spawns. Before we cover that, back here you have a green crate that'll spawn right there. You'll have toolboxes that spawn over there, and inside of there you can find some ammo. So in case if you want some ammo, you can check it out. Over here you have a toolbox spawn straight as you enter the doorway. You have some loose loot spawns such as food, moonshine, ammo, TP200s, everything that'll spawn all right here. You have a medical spawn back here. I found Augmentin, ibuprofen sitting on that ironing board. Upstairs, you have loose loot, loose valuables that spawn here. You have duffels that'll spawn here and back there. And then you have some loose valuables that'll spawn underneath that bed also. Again, another thing to take note of whenever you are actually scanning this area and going through it. Now, moving towards Old Sawmill. As you cross over to enter Old Sawmill, you will have a black weapon crate that spawns right here beside this broken down APC. You'll also have a green weapon crate that spawns in the rear of it. Inside of this shack, you have multiple things, including a moonshine spawn, loose loot spawn, duffel bag spawn, and toolbox spawns that all spawn in here, including loose ammo. Inside of the big shack here, the big shed, you have a tech crate outside of it, a tech crate right there, and a tech crate up these stairs right there. And of course, loose loot spawn there, rare weapon box there, black weapon box that usually spawns here. Then across the way, you have a black weapon box that spawns here. Loose attachments that'll spawn right here, such as a VS combo. Ooh, nifty. Moving on to the small shack. Inside of the small shack, you'll find loose loot spawns, you'll find a toolbox, and you'll find a great weapon box, as well as loose electronic spawns that'll spawn right there on the floor. Lots of relays will spawn there. Moving forward to northern, you're in Roadblock, and of course there are some notable mentions, such as a black weapon crate that could spawn there, and inside of that shack, right down the hill down there, you will find some loose items such as food and things of that nature. But typically, I don't check them, so I'm not really going to include it. Although it is a notable mention that if you would like to check it, you can. Northern Union Roadblock is a extract that is made for those that spawn on the outskirts side. It has a stash here, has a black weapon crate spawn there, and then it has a green weapon box spawn there. They recently opened this up inside of the patch for the BTR to drive through. So real quick before we get to the rest of the video, this area right here, this is ZB16 area. This area of the map is where A, you have to stash an Ishgra and a water, and B, it is also an extract where if lit with a green flare, you can get out. Usually this extract's only available if you spawned on the outskirts side of the map. Down here, before we make it to the med camp or Immercom, you do have a barrel cache that will spawn down this hill behind this rock right here. This thing has the chance of really spawning anything, and it's really nice to check it on your way over to med camp or on your way over to extract. Alright, listen, I know I didn't get to everything within this video. Unfortunately, I had a lot of corrupted footage, so I sort of worked with what I could. And I decided to cut it here just because I did circle the entire map. I did show what I thought was absolutely necessary to show. And I feel like this is a good guide to really give you the basics of woods. I know at the beginning of the video I said this would be a full-on guide tour, all that good stuff. But this is definitely what I feel is necessary for you to play woods, for you to know both beginning and intermediate, some of the loot, things like that, to really help you out along the way while traveling through. So thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.